We're all aware that there are many conflicts of interest in the United States, but you may have never heard about this one before. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA for short, is supposed to ensure that companies producing food and drugs adhere to federal standards in order to keep consumers safe. We all know that the FDA is in charge of regulating food and drugs in this country, but did you know that they are funded by companies who need their products to be approved? That's a major conflict of interest. In recent years, we have seen many scandals involving pharmaceuticals and process. The Food and Drug Administration is using more of the money that it needs from people who make medical devices and drugs. Today, close to 45% of its budget comes from these user fees that companies pay when they apply for approval of a medical device or drug. This move can be seen as a good thing for manufacturers and the public. It is important that people understand what this move means for them so they can make a decision about how much they like it. Do you remember the thalidomide case? People in the early 20th century were angry when they found out that food and medication were made with bad methods. They used ingredients like sugar in medicine, which can be unsafe. The Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act of 1938 gave the U.S. government new ways to protect people from these bad practices by testing food and medication for safety. In the 1950s, the FDA refused to approve a drug called thalidomide. They didn't approve it because they thought that there wasn't enough evidence that it was safe. This drug caused a lot of people to have bad problems with their arms and legs. The president liked what the FDA had done in 1962 when they made this drug. How AIDS impact FDA funding? The FDA was funded by taxpayers for a long time. But then there was a new disease, HIV-induced AIDS. In 1981, the first U.S. case of this emerged and the results were devastating. Blindness, dementia, severe respiratory diseases and rare cancers among others. Famous sports stars and celebrities died from it too. In 1992, Congress passed a law in response to pressure. This was the Prescription Drug User Fee Act. The president signed it into law. With this act, the FDA became a group that is funded through taxpayers and new drug user fees. Manufacturers pay these fees when they submit applications to the FDA for drug review. The amount of these fees depends on how many drugs they have and what kind of drugs they are. Over a long time, other user fees for drugs and medical devices were created. As time passed, the FDA's funding has come from industries that it regulates. Of the FDA's total $5.9 billion United States dollars budget, 45% comes from user fees, but 65% of the funding for human drug regulatory activities are derived from user fees. Do user fees work? The FDA and the drug or device manufacturers work together. The FDA has to meet certain performance measures in order to collect the money from user fees. These measures are things like how quickly the FDA responds, how quickly it generates letters and requests, and also how long it takes for a new drug application to be approved or refused. The FDA is getting quicker and more willing to talk with manufacturers. They also offer clearer guidance for the manufacturer in the US. In 1987, it took 29 months from when a new drug application was filed by the manufacturer before the FDA decided to approve a medication in the US. In 2014, it only took 13 months and by 2018, it fell to 10 months. In more recent years, changes have made it so that new drugs are approved the first time around more often. In diseases where there are not many medications for patients, the FDA has a special process that is faster and 89% of new drug applications were approved in 2018. This happened while the number of new drug applications was increasing over time. Recently, the COVID-19 pandemic has seen the FDA give emergency use approval for potential treatments in a matter of weeks. This is because they have been given money from paying people. In America, it is hard to get a drug approved by the FDA. But while there are many drugs that have been getting approved, there are also many drugs that have safety issues. Investigators looked at how many new drugs were being approved in a 16-year period and found that a lot of them had serious safety issues. Before the User Fee Act was approved, 21% of medications were removed from the market or had new warnings. This is less than 27%. Some reasons why more adverse effects are coming to light after drug approval include senior FDA officials overturning scientist recommendations, a lower burden of proof for medication approval, and more clinical data in new drug applications coming from foreign clinical trial sites that takes a long time to assess. FDA financial limitations. User fees are a way to make the makers of drugs pay for some of the cost. If they like making money, then they will help us more. Many people have been helped by this. But without careful consideration for what is being negotiated, the FDA can become weak and not be able to protect its citizens from the next thalidomide. There are some signs that the pendulum may be swinging too far in favor of manufacturers. Furthermore, the FDA is not sufficiently funded to do other important jobs. For example, they cannot collect money so that they can stop people from using counterfeit drugs and dietary supplements. I think these functions need to be identified and require more taxpayer funding. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe.